Today we're going to be looking at this machine from Jennings, 1931, it's the Victoria. We're not interested in the cabinet, but what's inside. So here's the inside of the Model B Jennings machine. It is just a regular slot machine, jackpot, coin, 3 reels, usual yada yada yada. We're not interested in the general slot machine, but what's on the side here? This monstrosity. What you see here on the Jennings machine on the side is an array of cogs, springs and levers, and it all looks very complicated, and you would be forgiven for thinking that this does something very special to the standard slot machine. Maybe it gives some sort of special bonus payout, maybe it has a cheat mechanism, or maybe it's something to do with variable payouts. In fact, it's got nothing to do with any of that. This whole over-engineered mechanism on the side here does just 2 things. It deflects a coin and counts how many coins go into a jackpot. Now this particular one does have a jackpot on the front. It's got the main payout jackpot and it's got a reserve at the top. The complex mechanism on the side determines where the coin, once it's entered into the slot, goes. Does it go down here into the tube that pays out regular coins, or does it slide down here and into the jackpot? What does make it interesting is this cogged wheel here. This determines how many coins actually get stored in the jackpot on the front. And what we'll do is have a very quick overview of what all of these actually do. The first thing we want to look at is the coin deflector. Once a coin is inserted, comes down here, it eventually is going to drop down to here. And just here is a little deflector lever, which you can see pops up and down, and depending on the position of this will determine if the coin drops straight down or is deflected into this chute down to the jackpot. Now that coin deflector is controlled via this and this cog here. Now this particular cog on the side has 10 stops. Now 2 of these teeth are longer than the other 8. And there's a reason for that. So why do we have 2 extra long teeth? We'll come to those in a moment, but if you take a note, here and here are 2 little pegs coming out of the side of the cog. Now it's these that cause the flap to lift up for the deflector. And we can see that if I push this round manually, when it gets to here, it's going to cause this to move up. Now this particular wheel turns on every pull of the handle of the mechanism. So out of every 10 plays, twice that deflector plate will lift up and divert the coins to the jackpot. So the deflector, the coin comes down and ends up in the reserve of the jackpot. So as well as controlling the deflector, what else does all of this mechanism do? Well, over here is this large wheel with teeth all around the edge. Now these teeth are controlled by this lever here that pushes that around. However, it will only get pushed round when the long teeth on this 10 stop wheel are reached. So for every 10 plays of the machine, twice this will click round once. So as this moves around, you'll see it's got these little pegs coming out of the side here. There's 3 of them. Now these 2 down here, first of all this one, when this little stopper lifts this up, and if I manually pull that up, you can see what's happening here. It moves this lever out of the way of that push rod. Now, to confuse you even more, what does that push rod actually do? Well, it pushes this here, and what does that do? It controls the reserve of the jackpot. When you get a win, this jackpot down here will empty out. On the next play, this reserve will drop down to fill up the jackpot with some coins. Now, it was common around this time of these slots to have a reserve jackpot. The idea was, if somebody did win the jackpot by chance, all of these coins emptied out, it didn't look very inviting to people passing by to play the machine if this was empty. So on the next play of the machine, this top reserve would drop down, so at least you had some coins in there, it wasn't empty. So what the push rod does is it pushes this lever, which closes this flap here, which operates the reserve. However, that will not occur until the machine has put 60 coins into the jackpot. Once there's 60 coins in here, then this will be pushed forward and the reserve will close. Coming back to this reel, as this continues pushing round, remember by now the reserve is closed, the jackpot has filled up with 60 coins. Any future coins that get deflected will end up in the reserve. And remember, in this reserve, every 10 plays of the machine, 2 of the coins will be fed down into here. Remember, when the deflector plate is pushed back, 8 coins will drop straight down. And of course, if the payout tube gets full, they overflow into this tube, down to here, and into the base of the machine for the operator's profit. Once the jackpot has been filled with its 60 coins and play is continued, this lever here will continue to force the wheel round twice every 10 plays. Now, when it gets to this position here, you'll notice that there's a cutout, and what that does, it doesn't matter how many plays now occur, the wheel does not revolve anymore. That's its maximum rotation. So this cog here will no longer rotate until a jackpot occurs, then it will reset. When you hit the jackpot on the 3 reels, usually the bell, fruit, gum symbols all in a row, all of the slides will move backwards. This lever here will also swing backwards, tripping this locking device here, which will deposit all of the jackpot. Now, at the same time, what happens down here? Down the bottom here is this lever, which is connected into the jackpot, holding the flap here. So when these are deposited, the flap will drop down, this will rotate, and this little lever here will move backwards. And there's a trip lever just there. And if I push that back, if we come up here, it will lift up this dog here, which is stopping this wheel from resetting. If I manually do this, the large wheel will reset. So the wheel has now reset, and it continues again. When you carry on playing, this will then be pushed round, loading 60 coins back into the jackpot. Now, I always believed that Brian's, who produced some classic all-win machines, often over-engineered the mechanics of their devices. This one, however, must hold the record for something over-engineered to do something quite basic. So there you have the complex mechanism on the Model B from the Jennings Victoria and Peacock range of machines from 1931, 1932 that controls the Jackpot load. So now it's time for us to play the machine and watch the whole mechanism in action. So that we can see the mechanism actually working, we're going to play the machine several times. Now at the moment the Jackpot is full up with 60 coins. The cogged wheel here cannot go around anymore as it's reached its maximum count. So what we'll do is we'll play the machine and I'll fake a Jackpot win. So we'll manually set the winning pay line just to empty out the Jackpot, and you can see what happens on the side here. Okay, so we've got the winner set up. So we've now got the Jackpot line set up manually. What you'll see down here, because we've got the Jackpot, all of those slides will go back. This will then trigger off the lock-in mechanism to unload the Jackpot. When we play the next coin, what you'll find is the flap down the bottom of the Jackpot will then close up, and this will then open up and drop down. Now this flap is going to stay open until this fills up with approximately 60 coins in there before closing. There you saw the wheel goes round. On the next play, this will then tilt up, which causes the deflector plate to come into operation. At the moment you'll notice that this wheel hasn't moved round until it gets to the longer tooth on this wheel. So on the next play the large tooth will raise this up and push this wheel around. As we're coming up to the larger tooth, you'll see that this will force the wheel around on the next play, and this little peg here will get closer to this arm. Remember, this arm here resets the reserve flap on the Jackpot. So here's the push rod just down here, and that moves forward every time you pull the arm of the slot machine. However, because there's a metal plate in front of it, it can't push this bit here, which is the reserve flap of the Jackpot. On the next play, the push rod will be able to push this around, which in turn will close up and lock the reserve flap. And there you have it, the Model B Jennings Victoria mechanism with its overcomplicated method of counting coins for the Jackpot and the coin deflector mechanism. Hope that gave you a quick insight into the ingenuity that Jennings put in to their Model B.